Hola! What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. We're up to episode 17. Jason, we're 17 again. Look at this.
Wow.
We are.
When I was 17, I had hair. Do I get my hair back now?
Throughout the episode, it starts to come back out of nowhere. Watch. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes, and I'll start like getting real skinny out of nowhere, like a string bean that I was at 17. But welcome. Thanks for joining us wherever it is through the Facebook stream or through YouTube or through Instagram. If you're catching us on the audio-only versions, thank you so much. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, wherever you find us. Thanks, and we always appreciate it as always. So Jason, what's up? How's your week been?
Week's been good. I've actually caught up. I've been watching a lot of stuff to catch up for the shows here. I'm caught up on DC's Legends of Tomorrow, which I'll talk about my catch-up experience when we get there. Mm-hmm. Started on The Boys because my D&D group was canceled last Thursday, so I had a bunch of extra time. And we've been starting to put the baby to bed because we're getting him ready for like a one nap thing. So when we send him to daycare, which means he goes to sleep at like 6:30 now. Oh, wow. So I've got all this time that I didn't have before. So I've just been like, of course, binge watching TV. So I've been watching The Boys. I've been watching Doom Patrol. I'm getting geared up and ready for when this stuff comes back.
So why don't you just do a quick tell us what you're going through with The Boys. I know you're in the middle of season 2 right now. Why don't you share what you think of that so far?
The Boys is fantastic. I mean, there are moments where I'm uncomfortable, which is the point, right? There are moments like Homelander scares the hell out of me. Yep. Like, I'm like, oh my God. But I'll tell you something that this is the scary part is this, I think, is what it would be like if they were really superheroes in the real world. Like, I think this really is what it would, this dystopian nightmare that is The Boys is the world we live in with superheroes. I remember when I was doing my Supergirl rewatch, I had thought there was one episode where Kara has a panic attack and she just in an elevator and she just Supergirls it up through the roof. And I thought, wow, you just destroyed a whole lot of property and maybe even killed someone on the way out. And that's kind of what The Boys is. Like, if collateral damage really happened, that's what I saw an episode where Homelander, like, wrecks some people with his laser eyes and he's cutting them in half. And, like, they weren't even bad guys. So it's like, it's a wild show, but I'm loving it. It's great satire. Like, I cannot talk how much I love this show.
Nice, dude. I am telling you, man, I had a feeling I was right in your wheelhouse, man. The Boys, and you mentioned you were rewatching Doom Patrol also.
Doom Patrol also really enjoying. I've only got a couple episodes in, but didn't realize that it was Matt Bomer and Brendan Fraser doing it. Didn't realize Timothy Dalton was in it. Didn't realize Alan Tudyk was the freaking narrator and bad guy. And I love the whole arc of or the whole structure of the bad guy, Mr. Nobody, being the narrator, but also is the bad guy. And he has these overlap moments where he's narrating and the heroes are like, who are you talking to?
Oh, it's such a great show, man. It's such a great show.
So I'm really enjoying my watches of these two.
What's up, Farachi? Thanks for joining us, dude.
Boss man.
I'm not sure what. He had the Mets game earlier, so they were watching that. I really caught on to Doom Patrol later on when it got to HBO Max, and I didn't catch it on DC Universe, but I love it. The Harley Quinn show, which, I mean, you could jump into that at some point. I'm sure we'll cover that at some point. That's a completely insane show. Titans also was an excellent show. That and Doom Patrol will be back later this year. And the only DC Universe show that kind of like fell flat for me was Swamp Thing. I had one season that got canceled like immediately after, and I watched it because CW aired it this past fall because they kind of had no new content, so they figured, screw it, we'll just re-air it and see what happens.
Put Swamp Thing on.
And I don't know, I thought it was really boring. I thought it actually really sucked.
Really?
So, yeah, no, I did not like Swamp Thing at all.
See, I want to check it out because I have a friend, Ginny, who loves Swamp Thing. Like, if you bring up Swamp Thing at a party, she will talk to you about how unfair it was. It only got one season. Like, she loves this show. And her and I we usually jive on the same type of taste.
Okay.
So I actually at some point I think like as I'm doing this sort of catch up, I'm gonna because it's only one season. I'm gonna throw Swamp Thing in there just to see what it's all about.
I'm curious when you're done. I'm curious to hear what you thought about it because I don't know if it's because I watched it with commercials and you can see there was awkward edits where they would just cut to commercial out of nowhere that didn't make sense. For me, ultimately, there just wasn't enough Swamp Thing in Swamp Thing. Like,
oh well, that's a problem.
Just not in it a lot at all, and he doesn't do much besides mope around in the swamp. I mean, that's what I thought of it. So whatever. I mean, and well, I'm sure we'll probably talk about the movies from back in the day, which are really crazy. Yeah. All right, cool. So let's jump into our first topic of the week. A trailer dropped for Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Trailer dropped. I think was it yesterday? I believe. And it's we get to see Carnage more, even though he was teased at the in the post-credit scene of the first Venom movie, a movie that I didn't really care too much about. I didn't really like the first Venom movie, and I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. And I went to see it trying to go in with like an open mind about it because for me that's a character that's origin is really, really heavily tied to Spider-Man, and to take Spider-Man out of his origin, it was going to be a lot for me to kind of like accept and so rock with it. But I went with it, and I actually think Tom Hardy was pretty solid in the movie. I have no problem with that. The effects are cool. I like the way Venom looks and everything like that. I know he doesn't have a spider, which obviously makes no sense because he wouldn't have a spider if he didn't know Spider-Man. So that's fine. But I walked away from the first film thinking I would like to see it get a sequel simply because I want another writer and a director to get their hands on this and maybe do something better. I've accepted the fact Spidey's not going to pop up, or he will or he won't. I know there's a whole thing with is Sony and Marvel working together to like backdoor this whole Sony universe into the MCU? We don't really know. I know there was the stuff in the Morbius trailer that was dropped in there. I know we get a couple of Easter eggs, like there's the guy who's reading the Daily Bugle in there, which looks like the Daily Bugle from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. So that was there. We got to see Ravencroft being introduced, which is a big part of the Spider-Man lore in the comics as well, where a lot of villains get locked away in there. So I think that's there. So they keep on pushing, and I know in the trailer somebody stomps a spider. Somebody like slams a spider. So I'm just like, okay, we get it. You're dancing around Spider-Man again, but this is a Venom thing. But for someone who didn't like the first movie, if you were trying to like suck me in with this and be like, hey, we want you in for the sequel, this trailer, I think the trailer on its own merit as a trailer, I thought it sucked. I thought it was a shitty trailer. It did nothing to excite. Jason, what was your reaction for that? I know there's one thing, so get right to it.
So, all right. So to be clear, I've never seen Venom. I suppose I'm going to have to. We'll cover it at some point in this show. But I've never seen it for the same reason you were skeptical. Like, I don't get the point of Spider-Man, Venom without Spider-Man. It just doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. But looking at this as its own merit, this should be called Venom Let There Be Breakfast. Why are you showing me Venom make breakfast and Venom go to the grocery store and Venom threaten to eat the grocery store woman? Who gives a fuck, man? I mean, I just as a trailer, it didn't hook me. I will give Woody Harrelson credit. I think Woody Harrelson looks great, but like I've never not loved Woody Harrelson in something I've seen him do. Woody Harrelson's a guy who always shows up and just gives it his all, and he's always great. And I'm sure he will be really fun in this movie, but the trailer was like it's like here's a lot of action out of context and Eddie Brock making breakfast with Venom. And it's like I don't understand what they were going for.
Well, I guess it's because what Farachi's saying right now. Venom is hungry.
Oh, Venom is hungry. That's right.
So I guess he's got to have breakfast at some point. And I saw there was that sign. I was like, "Do not eat people." One of our rules and stuff. And I just kind of think it's a try hard situation.
Yes.
Like they're like trying so hard to be, look at us, we're weird and wacky. But then some of the shit we were just talking about, like Doom Patrol and stuff, is very weird, and Legends is weird. But they're not trying too hard to say, "Hey, we're weird." They're just being weird, and that's it. And they're kind of just embracing it.
Right, exactly. It's just, hey, this is just us being us. Where I agree, this felt like, hey, guys, You ever think you'd see Venom break breakfast? Huh? How cool and weird is that?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's really really weird. We got some comments here. Kelly, what's up? Thanks for joining the show. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like Tom Hardy looks great in both of these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he as
Tom
Venom
Hardy's
and
a good-looking
Brock,
guy.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, you know, they've cast a good lead there to bring everyone in, but like I don't know. It's just I feel like just being really really shit on with a shit script and a shit director. I mean, I know it's Andy Serkis is taking over this time, which I think he only directed that Mowgli movie that ended up going like on Netflix. It was pretty much the Jungle Book being retold again. Yeah, so he doesn't have too much experience. He had Tourette's in the first one, saying those things. Yeah, I mean, I guess having an alien symbiote a part of you probably might give you some issues like Tourette's and things of that nature. But I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, we're just because we think that we don't think highly of the trailer doesn't mean that we think the movie's going to suck.
No,
There's a lot of things.
Could be a great movie. It's just not a very good trailer.
Yeah, I hated the Joker trailers. The trailers for Joker, I really, really hated.
Me too.
And then the movie was fantastic. So, I don't think we're going to get like a movie the level of Joker right here. I'm not trying to go out there on a limb and say that, but I just want to have an entertaining film. I want to have a fun, entertaining film, not one to be taken super seriously. But again, you kind of like climbing up a hill already with this. Like a lot of fans are turned off to like no Spider-Man and a Venom movie. You kind of need to like go work a little bit harder on that and overcome that. So, I'm sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the thing about these Venom movies is they make me sad because it means that I'm never going to get a proper Venom in the MCU or like, because we never got a proper Venom. Like the first two Spider-Man movies, like I think we got a proper Doc Ock. I think we got a proper Green Goblin, both incarnations, both father and son. But that third movie was a wreck. And never, like Venom was terrible in that. And even if Venom's great in his own movie, it's again, I've never seen it, so I can't say, but it just makes me sad that the more they make these Sony like Venom movies, the less likely it is we're going to get a proper Spider-Man Venom movie together.
Yeah, no, and that is really upsetting unless they try to do some weird thing where they introduce this universe, which again keeps getting rumored, into the MCU to be one big thing. But I still just have a weird feeling about that because Kevin Feige probably, I understand he advised some on the first Venom movie, but didn't really go all in. They still kind of did their own thing. But if he's not truly producing it and it's up to a certain level, he's going to want nothing to do with it. It's like, no, it doesn't count. Doesn't matter.
And even if they introduce this Venom into the MCU, they've altered his origin so much that it's still not going to be a proper Venom movie.
Yeah.
Because a proper Venom movie is the enmity between him and Spider-Man for the rejection. And that's the whole thing. The fact that they are literally the light and the shadow archetypes of each other, that is what makes the character dynamic so interesting. And when you change the origin like they have, even if you bring him in, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, we do have a third guest in here that's gonna a third host who's gonna pop in, filling in for Tony this week. We got Tim, the Swiss Army knife of the Pop Culture Pros Network.
What's up, Fuzz? I'm doing my Emperor Palpatine.
Nice.
Oh,
my Emperor Palpatine look for today.
But we know why you're back. That's the difference with you and Emperor Palpatine.
It's true. I can't even argue with that point.
Tim couldn't resist the Fantastic Four that we're going to get to eventually.
No, I could not resist at all.
We've been we'll get to the Fantastic Four stuff, but Tim, did you checked out the Venom trailer? What did you think of it? Quick.
Just like the first one. Yeah. I again, I'm not one of those Tom Hardy guys either. I think in Peaky Blinders, I think he's a genius. But other than that, I'm not really a fan, to be honest. I know I'm the only one in the world who's not a Tom Hardy guy. But again, I can't, like Jason was just saying, I can't get on board without the proper – there's no reason for him to look the way he looks without coming into contact with Spider-Man first. So it's just a weird thing. So whatever. Of course, am I going to go watch it? Of course I am, because it's it's something to go see, and I want to watch ridiculousness. But yeah, I'm not really hyped up about it or anything.
No, I don't think anyone's too jazzed up for it. I mean, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping and fingers crossed we get something solid once this comes around. Farachi's shouting out Timmy over here.
What's up, boss?
Timmy.
I'm slowly making my return. The good news is I have a new computer inbound as we speak. It shall arrive Monday. With that, combined with the new Wi-Fi, I should be ready to go.
You're like the $6 million man right now. I think it would be more now. It'd be like the $55 million man or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, he told me to play. He told me to play with the camera. Maybe that was causing why my drops all the time. So I'm down 2 levels. I'm not this ugly. I'm down 2 levels in what is it called? In like I'm at like 380 or 350 or whatever it is. I'm not in HD no more. So please don't judge me, people.
I thought you were just going for that Emperor Palpatine look. I thought it was all part of the persona.
Well, that too. But the bags under my eyes are out of control. So
All right, so let's jump into the CW verse though for this week. And our first show we're going to discuss is DC's Legends of Tomorrow from Sunday night.
That's right.
Episode 2.
Constantine is saying hello, baby. I told you I had this Constantine. It's the Legends one.
That's pretty awesome.
That actor. I love that.
Pretty awesome. No, Matt Ryan's dope as Constantine. An episode that I think that me and Jason and actually Tim here, who I'm going to assume Tim did not see this episode, Legends of Tomorrow, but he's going to know what we're referencing though immediately, and he might actually go watch the episode now because of it. This episode's inspiration was The Stuff. And they actually referenced The Stuff in the episode directly. And I think it was absolutely fantastic.
They stop in the middle of the episode and Nate goes, "Wait, guys, this is the plot of that movie, The Stuff."
Exactly. Wow. And that's literally what the episode was inspired by. It was so awesome. They were like, there's some aliens that were putting like stuff in like as in his barbecue sauce and his like failing fast food vendor over there where he gets the sauce on the burger and he likes it and everything, so it says pass on. But meanwhile, we find out it's from an alien, and the people in the town are craving meat, and they're running. It's crazy, Tim. This show's gone so off the rails, but in a good way, though. It's like it's self-aware insanity. And honestly, I really, really like it every week because it actually has me laughing my ass off constantly.
It jumped the shark in a good way.
It jumped the shark, but I kept riding the shark the whole way. I was like, fuck this, we're going. We're just going to keep going the whole way.
It put that motorcycle on the back of that shark and said, "Yeah, bitches, let's go."
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun, man.
Tim, there was an episode, because I just got done with my rewatch, right? Not even rewatch. I caught up. I watched them all, right? There's an episode where it just becomes a Bollywood movie. And there's a line where they go, "Wait, are we doing a Bollywood episode?" And it becomes a Bollywood episode. There's an episode where they're fighting in a museum. This was like I think it was the closer of last season. Mm-hmm. They're fighting in a museum where it has like the 50 worst criminals of all time. Yeah. And the guy who does the thong song is there. I forget his name.
Cisco.
That's it. So he's there for some reason in this museum. And one of the guys goes, "Wait, before we have this fight." And he starts it up. And he just starts singing the thong song, and they have this whole battle to the thong song. But the fact that they started it up purposefully for the battle in the show, like, I love this show. This show is crazy in all the right ways.
Jason, would you say this is your favorite of the CW verse shows?
It has eked out Black Lightning for me, because I think Black Lightning is a better show. I think Black Lightning is, there's a lot going on. It's very serious and it's well written, everything. But this show is just so much fun. Like, I couldn't stop watching it. That's why I got through it so quickly. And just, I love self-referential stuff. Mm-hmm. I love tongue in cheek. I love time travel. I'm a big time travel guy. So like this, I think this was tailor made for people like me.
I told you, I called it right away. I said, watch, the show for Jason is going to be Legends of Tomorrow. But for the continuity of the whole CW verse, Arrowverse, whatever anyone wants to call it, we got the origin of Big Belly Burger in this episode.
That's right.
Which is seen in Arrow, which is seen in Flash, which is seen in Supergirl. I think maybe it even popped up once in Black Lightning. I don't recall. Once they became in the Arrowverse, maybe quickly it was thrown in there. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was. It was referenced in Black Lightning too. So all the shows have covered it, but we get the origins of Big Belly Burger at the end of the episode, which I thought was really cool and a nice way to make sure you state that you're in the CW verse consistently. But yeah, pretty much if you've seen it, the stuff is like it's in 80s. I'm pretty sure it was like 80s like B or D list horror movie.
Yeah,
and it's completely insane.
Which starred Paul Sorvino. I don't know if he starred in it, but Paul Sorvino was in that movie.
Yeah. And it's a movie the three of us have all seen more than once.
Yep.
Yes. So, yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, check out the stuff also. And pretty much this episode literally pretty much follows the stuff of people eating some alien form, and they end up getting enraged and walking around and like get zombified and start like eating random shit. It's actually pretty awesome.
And then the alien that has been dosing everyone, that the alien's whole plan is to eat the entire town.
Yes,
which I think like that's what happens with the stuff, right? It's feeding on the people.
Mm-hmm. It's eating them; they're not eating it.
That's it. That's
the tagline.
That's the tagline. It's eating you. That's it. The only thing I am going to call bullshit on, though, and this is retroactively last week, is now that I've caught up, I call bullshit in the fact that Gary was an alien.
Really?
I just there is nothing in the last 3 or 4 seasons that he was in that even hints at that. And I don't care. Who cares? It's a plot device, and I actually do like him and Captain Lance on their own, doing their own thing on the alien planet with Amelia Earhart. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
But I just think it's the one part where I'm like, oh, I think that's a bit lazy. But as I said, I think it's the only part with this show has gotten lazy. And other shows that are this crazy usually uses that craziness to be lazy. Like, oh, how did that work? Who cares? It's a show. Wink. They never do that. So I'm going to call bullshit on the Gary thing, but I'm also going to forgive them in the same breath.
All right, fair enough. I mean, they do a lot. They do enough insanity to get a get out of jail free card with the Gary alien thing. So, all right. Well, let's move on to Batwoman season 2, episode 13. We got to meet I want to say, all right, Jason, since you've read more Batman than I have you ever ran into Cluemaster at any
Never.
point? Okay, so he's like a Z-list Batman villain.
I meant to look up if he was even a real villain or if they just made him up for the show, but okay, good. But yeah, no, I've never heard of this guy before.
So the short version, though, we'll throw it out at Tim, is Cluemaster is pretty much a poor man's Riddler. And they actually do a self-referential thing in this where, he does like this quiz thing, and he's got Ryan and Sophie, and I always forget the other sister's name.
I forget the
it'll come to me. They're all trapped, and then he gives them like Batman trivia, and he's like, well, what Batman villain turns green when they get compared to me instead of the other way around and stuff like that? And it turns out to be Riddler. And he also referenced Mr. Freeze in the episode, which is another one that they get in there. So I think those were pretty cool things. There was a Black Panther reference in this episode that we got as well, where somebody references Shuri. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, they referenced Shuri in the episode. Not that Marvel exists like that, but to them, Marvel's a TV show or a movie. They're like, the fake ones.
There was one season where The Flash, where they referenced Spider-Man constantly.
Yep.
So Marvel weirdly exists as a property in the DCU.
Yeah, that's their comic books, I guess, right? Like they're like, hey, I guess they read Marvel comics in the DC, in the CW verse at least. So what's up? Like Luke Fox is getting a love interest?
Why not?
Really? I know. I thought that was cool. I thought that was actually cool.
I actually have to say I didn't mind this episode. This episode I thought was fun.
Yeah.
I actually like that they're doing something with Luke Fox because I always forget about him because the writers do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just the guy who fixes stuff. He's the Deus Ex Machina. But I like that they actually gave him a love interest in the Clue Master's daughter. I thought the Clue Master was interesting, although, again, it's just a poor man's Riddler, but I guess that's the point, so that's fine. And I actually did really like the weird cat and mouse of Ryan and the Crow Lady about the Crow Lady knowing the Batwoman's identity.
Oh, Sophie?
Yes,
I actually love the fact that she calls her Crowfie. I think it's hilarious. Yeah. Genuinely funny.
That is funny. But I mean, I kind of like their back and forth, like, where she's trying to goad her into telling her she's Batwoman, and then she just has to admit, okay, I fucking know, all right, let me help you. So I thought that was cool. I actually thought this was a pretty good episode.
I think they're in a good streak, man. I think they're starting to find their way. And the big reveal, though, at the end of the episode is that Alice figures out that this Cersei Sionis is Kate Kane. Yeah, but I think I actually like the way that they're using her. I still think it's absurd that it had to be Kate Kane, and I hope that they have a reason why Black Mask decided to make Cersei, to use Kate Kane to replace his daughter, who was killed and trampled in Arkham during an escape. But I actually like what's going on there, and I kind of like the dynamic. I think it actually has something for Alice to genuinely do right now, and I'm curious to see where they go with those two.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they needed something for Alice to do outside of pine over Kate Kane, which is what she's been doing the whole season. And I agree. I liked how she ingratiated herself. Oh, I can make the mask, which making again, I think that's so ridiculous. I mean, that my WTF moment is where she has the flesh mask and she puts it up to her face, and the camera cuts, and all of a sudden it's her face.
Yeah.
I mean, but ignoring that, I think it's an interesting thing to have Alice to do. I like that Alice deduced that Roman Sionis was Black Mask. I really like her and Black Mask's banter back and forth. I mean, I'm a big fan of the way what they're doing with Black Mask as it is. Yeah. So I think they've gotten on a good track.
Yeah, so do I, and I'm genuinely curious to see where it goes. Besides watching it for the show, I was watching it beforehand, so I'm getting enjoyment out of it. It's not just me rolling my eyes and finding out what thing to laugh at hysterically anymore. Like, it's actually becoming solid. So I hope they continue on this path.
Yeah, same.
All right, so that takes us to the Monday show, Black Lightning season 4, episode 11. Jason, take us through Black Lightning.
All right, so as we called on this show, Tobias is officially mayor. That's important. Tobias, I'm sure gonna come in. Tobias offers the police captain his meta boosters instead of guns. Mm-hmm. So we very well might have like meta cops hunting the Pierce family. I think that's interesting. Tobias finds out that Jen is Jen, that that she has the new face. Mm-hmm. We get some really cool painkiller stuff, I think. I mean, they're really pushing the painkiller back the show, which I'm fine with, because I like that character, and I think they've done it well. I like that he comes in to get the ledger and help the Pierce family out. And then they find out that it's that character Looker, who is the white supremacist from, I don't know if it was last season or 2 seasons ago. I think it was 2 seasons ago. I think so. And her the Looker's thing is that she puts the silver stuff in you and she controls you, and they find out that is why why they have so many witnesses that Pierce embezzled the funds and that the family are criminals. Mm-hmm. And he kind of he snaps the police officer out of it by dosing him, which I think is cool.
That whole scene was hilarious with the coffee, by the way.
That was great, and
that was absolutely really funny.
I loved Pierce. Like, all right, look, just listen to me. Just listen. I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, Kim's drinking coffee over and over.
I just thought it was so funny. But it's pretty much what he said he was going to do, so it worked.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pierce finally tells the cop, Shakur, I think his name is, that he is Black Lightning. So that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And and Tobias sends Ishmael after Painkiller, and Painkiller snags Looker, and he's bringing her back. So this was a jam-packed episode. There was a lot of plot threads going around in this, though. Still no Lala. I really hope they pay off. I do something with him.
He's in the episode, though. Technically, hold on. Technically, he's in the episode. He is, and
you're right.
Well, Tim will get a kick out of this. So there's one. The main villain on Black Lightning is Tobias. He's kind of like the Kingpin. He's awesome, by the way. You would really dig him. And he's got another one of the villains who is dipped in concrete, and he's up like Han Solo in carbonite in his office. And we see him in the background. And they had like a whole back and forth thing for years. So another villain dipped him in the concrete like a couple episodes ago. So I think we do see Lala technically in the background of the episode. We
do technically see him, which means that hopefully they will still do something with him. Because the thing is, Tim, he can't die. That's his superpower. He resurrects constantly. So that's why they put him in like the cement carbonite, so he can't do anything. So I'm hoping
he keeps dying over and over. Actually, it's actually pretty fucked up.
Yeah, he keeps waking up in the cement and suffocating and dying. It's actually pretty brutal.
Yeah, and I'm also looking forward to the Painkiller Ishmael battle next week. Like that should be really, really cool.
That's going to be good.
I'm pretty hyped up for that. I also like the use of the Black Rob song. Black Rob, who passed away recently. During the Looker Painkiller fight, like the mind battle that they had, I thought that was really, really cool. Again, they just seem to like get the kind of like soundtrack that I would be using for this type of show if I was the one editing this thing. But there was a weird thing that I saw when Painkiller breaks into to get to Looker. He's fighting these two guys. Why does one of them decide to stop shooting at him and take a gun and throw it at him? What the fuck was that about? Out of nowhere. What the hell was that?
I was going to mention that, actually, and I forgot about it. You're right. He Supermans this guy. He just throws the gun at him.
He's just like, whatever. Here's the gun. It's just so random.
And in all fairness, like, he does follow it up by like doing something where he jumps off the wall and hits him. So maybe it was a distraction technique, but it was just so weird and random that he just hucks this gun at him.
And the other thing I thought, like Looker's. We also got a Get Out reference, by the way, in that coffee scene.
Yes.
Where the guy, the officer, snaps out of it, and he was like, "Yo, man, I felt like I was like in Get Out." Like the way that the liquid metal Terminator thing comes out of him, and he's just like he says that. So I thought that was actually really funny as well, because it is like just like the movie Get Out at that point.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. All right, so let's move on, dude. By the way, there's only 2 more episodes of Black Lightning left. That's it? Like ever? No, that's it. There's only 2 more left.
Oh, that's right. It's a halfie.
Yeah.
Man, all right. Well, that's sad.
That's it. No more Black Lightning, man. It's kind of crazy.
That's really sad.
Yeah, I didn't mean to bring it down, man, before we moved on, but I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was kind of nuts.
Wow, I thought I at least had 5 more. I didn't know I had 2.
2 more, man. 2 more. All right, so a show that we definitely have plenty of is The Flash. Season 7, Episode 9. Tim, where did you leave off when you were watching Flash? I know, like, you're not caught up, but you were like 4 or 5?
I don't even know right now, to be honest with you. I don't remember the last time I even watched it. I fell behind and everything, and I just tapped. I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up again. Maybe when they're all done,
you'll go back.
I'll go back and just like one day just streak them all in a row. But yeah, I fell way behind. I don't remember the last time I watched any of them.
You're gonna streak them all in a row? No pun intended.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Well, I'll tell you quickly before we get into this episode. Barry has been the fastest man on the earth for a little while now. I know that was a concern of ours.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
At least to our knowledge, he is. So we'll see what happens. But I thought it was an episode where I know they're going ahead and Barry actually time travels for the first time in a bit, and he goes to like stop the creation of the Strength Force and they call it the Stop Force and all of that. But then ultimately gets there, goes back in the past, and then decides to not do it. So ultimately, in the end, it's just kind of like, all right, what the hell did we just accomplish in this episode? Like, not really a lot. We already knew the Speed Force that is taking the embodiment of his mother, Nora, is up to no good. We already knew that was happening. So I don't think there was any advancement of the plot on the season in this episode, which is kind of annoying. But we did get to see Wells. Which did. Jason, I actually kind of got a little confused on this. So he ran off to, like, the year 2000 or 2009 to go grab
Yeah,
Wells?
So yeah, because when Wells comes back, Timeless Wells, which is what they're calling him.
Exactly.
I don't remember what the reason is. It's a hand wavy reason, but
Yeah.
he gets all of the Wells's memories and the ability to embody himself at any point in his past.
Got it. Okay, because I was a little hazy on the explanation of that. Because as we saw, we thought Wells just kind of like evaporated and that was it. He kind of just was done. But yeah, no, and they had Timeless Wells has like a bubble where he can kind of do shit and not affect the timeline and everything like that.
Right. So he pretty much is just reliving his marriage.
Yeah.
From when he, whatever. And again, they kind of mention it a little bit in that episode where he disappears, but they don't really explain it. So how it happens, I don't know, but that's the thing. Yeah, he's sort of vacationing or living in his memories in the past.
Okay, so he comes in to help them out with it, and then ultimately they decide not to move forward with it. But I think the big takeaway from the episode, that at least was advancing it, is the fact that I think we find out how Cisco is going to be written out of the show, because we know Cisco's leaving after the season, as is who plays Wells, who has kind of already been written out like a bunch of times. He could have left any point.
I thought he was gone for this season.
Yeah, but it looks like Cisco is probably going to just move to, I think they said San Francisco or something like that, because he already doesn't have his vibe powers anymore. So I think he's just kind of like going to leave Central City and just go off in the sunset, which is fine. I mean, again, we all know the guy's leaving anyway, so.
Yeah. I think I really wish this was the last season of The Flash. I mean, not that I'm hating on it, not that I'm saying it's terrible, but it's just, I don't know. I'm watching this season. It's just clear to me that they're just running out of stuff. Like they're losing Cisco, who I think is the heart of this show, and they're replacing him with Chester. And Chester's fine, but he's not Cisco. Yeah. They're losing Kavanaugh, which I think is a not having Wells is going to be a big sap of the show. And just the fact, like, even with the whole arc of this season about like the forces, like, I don't know, it just strikes me as they've run out of steam and ideas.
Yeah, well, actually, we got an explanation here from I know one of our big CW watchers, Jonathan Hamilton. Now it makes sense why Timeless Wells from the night of the creation of the forces takes off his glasses and seems to stare off at nothing. He was looking at Barry and his future self.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I know he noticed that. He does kind of notice it, that whole thing. That was a cool acknowledgement.
Yeah.
As well in there. But I just thought, I kind of just feel like, again, they got off to a strong start, kind of like Supergirl in this season, and all of a sudden they've been kind of stolen now.
Yeah.
But I think I also will say I think that I've had more fun with the Flash stalling than I've had, which we're about to get into is Supergirl. Because let's just jump into it then, right? I mean, I think we're good on the Flash for this week.
Yeah, I mean, this was a nothing episode that was cool that we got to see Wells again. I think that's my take on it.
Yeah, and also what I believe will be the eventual of Cisco.
Right, and the write out of Cisco. But I'm like sad about that. So I'm like, it was nice to see it, but I'm like, I don't want to see you go, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like him too. He's a fun character. With Supergirl, season 6, episode 7, which is their mid-season finale, because we actually are getting Superman and Lois back next week, and I think they're going to do their run and finish their season, and then Supergirl will come back for their, I guess it's 7 more episodes to wrap up their season, their final season. I thought an episode of, again, more spinning of the wheels, not much advancement on the plot, except for the ending. Because at the end of the fucking episode, she finally escapes the Phantom Zone. Thank God that she is out of that Phantom Zone. Holy shit. I mean,
it's been 6-7 episodes in this goddamn Phantom Zone. And for what? What did we accomplish there?
Nothing at all. It is so annoying. Tim, we used to joke about the Phantom Zone like from Superman 1 and 2. It was like, and that was pretty much it. We thought it'd be something fun. They tried to do something cool with it, I guess, because they actually had the Phantoms be able to kind of take people over and zombify people and things like that. But they just keep doing it every single episode, and that's it.
Better season arc. Sorry.
Let's say, is it better than Supergirl the movie's Phantom Zone?
Well, yes. I'll give it that. Fine. Yeah, I guess I'll say that. For sure.
Or Smallville's. Smallville did a Phantom Zone too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clark got sent there. Yep.
My Smallville knowledge comes from Tim because I refuse to watch it.
I've never seen it. But I'll tell you something. Better season of Supergirl. She spends 1, maybe 2 episodes in the Phantom Zone, and the rest of the season is them trying to stop the Phantoms from intruding on the real world.
Yes. Much better.
That's a better. Like, what did we do this season? What did we even? This is the last season of Supergirl. Like, again, I just watched all these Supergirl episodes, right? These seasons, and I freaking love them. I thought like they were solid through and through. This does not feel like Supergirl. We're in space. We don't. This is again another like mostly Supergirl-less Supergirl episode.
Yep.
And it's an episode where we're again like we said with before, like nothing happens. Like everyone's in their own head being haunted by their fears, and we know these characters. Again, and we know these characters so well that, oh, you mean David Bowie's biggest fear is losing her sister? Yeah, no, I didn't get that in the last 6 seasons.
No.
Oh, you mean to tell me that this was the ridiculous one. Lena's biggest fear is not being perceived as an evil Luthor, but a weird water alien where they do that Alien 3 famous,
thank you. I was actually going to say that was the coolest part of the episode was the alien reference when she's like there and the alien comes to the side of her face. That was cool.
The reference was cool, but the fact that that's her biggest fear makes no sense with that character.
Garbage.
I mean, it just. Oh, and wait, Dreamer's biggest fear is that she doesn't interpret her dreams correctly. Well, I didn't get that since every single fucking episode since her mother died. It's like so, and that's the thing is, if you can do an episode like this, it's to delve into the characters to give us something new. It gave us nothing new. This could literally be called Supergirl. The crew spins their wheels. That's all this episode was, and it was frustrating.
It really is because again, like now that you are caught up, you've seen how good the episode, the show has been up until this season.
The show's been awesome up until this season. Although I got to give it to Brainy. Brainy has a great moment where Martian Manhunter is like, "Oh, so you've been able to block it out? You know, you're not affected either." He goes, "No, I'm a 12th level intellect. I'm affected. I'm just able to compartmentalize."
But he's scared of balloons, which I thought was actually pretty funny.
That is actually my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, kind of helped break the tension, like Jonathan was saying. I love comedic Brainy has been this season. Jonathan, we'll agree with that. We'll give kudos to Brainy because he has been pretty funny, even though they've taken away his emotions or anything like that. The stress eating and random shit of that nature. So, all right. So that's it for CW for this week. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Some of you may or may not be familiar with a movie that came out back in, well, actually, let me rephrase that. A movie that did not come out. Who's got the Mr. Softy truck button, by the way?
That's me.
Can you get me a cone, dip with the chocolate stuff?
I'm about to run out and get a double dip cherry in a second.
Yeah, just send it over there. So a movie that actually never was released. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, so there's a Roger Corman version of the Fantastic Four that was made back in 1990. It was actually filmed in, was it 92? It was actually filmed?
Yeah, I think
and
so.
it was supposed to come out in 93, and then they were, they call it Fantastic Four 1994, but they never actually released the film. There was a whole thing. The movie was made simply to retain the rights because a low-budget film studio had the rights to the movie and just needed to get a film in production. Otherwise, the rights would have reverted back to Marvel, and they could have done whatever they wanted to do with it, and that would have been it. So they had to go ahead and put some film into production, and this was it. So Jason and I, Tim, did you also watch the documentary Doomed?
I didn't get to watch the documentary yet. I just watched the movie.
Okay, so if you get a chance, documentary is good. Yeah, documentary is really good. But let's talk about the actual film on its own merits. Now, we understand that we know this is not a finished product because, as we've seen in the documentary, the crew, the cast and the crew were like working really hard on it behind the scenes on their own dime at times. and it got really crazy. The movie's insane. This movie is completely off the wall, and it's bonkers, but it does try to stay faithful to the Fantastic Four origin that we do know. I mean, I got to give it credit on that. The costumes are comics accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give them that. Maybe this is a lesson of maybe you don't always want exactly comics accurate costumes in your superhero movies because they can look really weird if that's always the case. It's funny because early on in the film, when I saw George Gaines was the teacher
Yes.
in Reed's class, I was like, how the fuck did George Gaines end up in this movie?
That's my first note. Captain
Yes.
Lassard starts the movie as the professor.
Captain Lassard. I mean, I was like,
Bucky
holy
Brewster's
shit,
dad?
really? Wow.
I was shocked. It's like, oh my god, I didn't expect to see someone I knew in this party.
Well, but you want to know something too, though? Jay Underwood, who plays Johnny Storm in this movie, he was like the boyfriend in Uncle Buck and
That's
other
right,
movies
yes.
that we
Yes.
kind of seen him as the asshole boyfriend in some 80s movies. I didn't recognize him until I saw the documentary.
Neither. Same here.
No, I didn't. And he's like really, really extra over the top in this film. And I guess let's talk about one of the weirdest things I at least found about in this movie was the relationship between Reed Richards and Sue Storm. What the hell was that about?
Why did they this is actually the biggest thing I ding this movie for, right? Because I like this movie. I'm just going on record right now.
Okay.
I enjoyed every fucking moment of this movie.
Okay.
Okay. And not just because I love bad movies, and I love bad movies.
I know.
If I
Sam
ever
and I do
host
too, though.
if I ever host a show on this network, it will be a deep dive into bad movies, and you gentlemen will be coming on. but outside of that, I thought I liked this movie. But the biggest thing I ding it for, the thing that I don't understand what they were thinking is, why did they make Reed Richards like 15 years older than Sue Storm, and he's living in the Storm boarding house?
I didn't understand that.
And she's like a kid, and she's like, oh, he's so dreamy. And it's like, oh, you're like 11. Get out of here. What? That's weird.
Yeah, and then there's a time jump of 10 years later, and then she sees him again, and she's like, and then obviously Reed, I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, but that's not weird to you? That like, really, this whole thing is not strange? Why did you do this? Like, there was no need to include this weird plot line in it.
No, there absolutely was not. And I also do love this. I think this is hysterical, but it's stupid. The reason he brings them on the mission instead of, qualified astronaut professionals is, well, I've lived with them for so long and I've talked to them about the mission. No one knows more about it than them. That would be like
Exactly.
if I was a doctor who hung out, who lived, and I was your roommates, right? We all lived together, and I was a doctor, and I was going into surgery, and I went, guys, you're coming with me. And I went, nurse, doctors, out of the way. These guys have heard me talk about this surgery. They're going to assist. I mean, it made no sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's like, you know what, Jason, you know a lot about Star Trek. You're qualified to go into space, my friend.
Come on along.
I know Star Wars. I'm going into space. It's the same
That's
thing.
it. Oh,
Makes no sense.
it's like, oh, well, Ed, you've watched a lot of action movies. You should come on this like recon mission with the military. I mean, why not? You should just follow us. I mean, what the hell?
There's no explanation as to where they live and why. And what, like you said, what qualifies these two idiots to go on this mission? Nothing. Nothing qualifies them.
You know what I thought was great too, and again, I watched this a couple of weeks ago with Rick, and I rewatched it earlier today. Even Johnny Storm, as a kid, calls out that Sue is being gross about this relationship with Reed Richards. He even calls it out. He's like, dude, that's exactly what we're all thinking. That's
Did you
hilarious.
see how happy Mrs. Storm was? She was all happy that her child daughter was obsessed with this older man. It's like, what are you so happy about?
How about the greeting, by the way, since we're talking about that scene when like the 10-year jump and Ben and Reed show up to the house to get Johnny and Sue. How about the greeting when Ben's like, hey, Mrs. Storm, can Johnny and Sue come on us with us? Can they come to space with us? And he's not like being sarcastic. He's like genuinely jolly about this. That shit was hilarious.
And then the fact that she's the one who dubs them the Fantastic
Yes,
Four.
thank you, dude. Your notes, we have the same exact notes right now because, when they were about to leave the house, she's like, oh, look at you, the Fantastic Four. And that's their money shot of the film where they're like posing. Dude, Jonathan is right with us this whole time.
Yep.
Holy shit.
The three of us have the same notes. You, Jonathan, you and I.
That is just so insane. And I thought honestly I thought the way that they get called the Fantastic Four in Fan Four Stick was bad. This was like I don't know if you guys recall how they get dubbed the Fantastic Four in that one.
I try to.
It's towards the end of the movie where he just randomly blurts it out. It's so ridiculous. I'll say this is worse. Not the worst Fantastic Four movie, because I will say I would rather watch this over Fan Four Stick.
Look, I called it. This is my second favorite Fantastic Four movie. I said that's what I thought was going to happen. That's what happened. It's that Fantastic Four movie that with Jessica Alba. I actually do like that one with all of its flaws, and then it's this one.
Yeah. I after watching Fan Four Stick and watching this, the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies don't look so bad, honestly, in comparison. But I will say though that at least I put this over Fan Four Stick because at least we're having fun and laughing about it. That movie was just like I watched it and I felt bad for the actors in the film. I was like, Oh my god, what the hell is going on here?
Also, like this movie never had a shot, right? And Fan Four Stick was actually had money put into it and had a cast. And so this actually, I don't think this could have been better than what it is with all of the limitations. And Fan Four Stick could have been. So it's kind of like faulting a runner who had his leg beaten in and still dragged his or her way to the finish line while other runners ran past them. It's like, no, you kind of have to applaud the gumption of that, the effort of that, because that was the best they could have done.
Can we talk about Doom's henchmen for a minute?
Yes. Oh. Yeah. Oh my God. Did you guys catch the musical cues for these guys?
Yes.
Like it was like comedic, like
like circus music.
Right.
It's like what the hell is going on?
Did it not remind you guys though of the Otis music from the Supergirl?
Yes. Yeah. Look, I can sum that up in one line, and it's my favorite line in the whole movie. And I'm going to try to deliver it the way the guy did it. Remember, Doom just died, and he. Sorry, I'm spoiling it for anybody who's seen it. And the guy comes into frame next to Reed, and just does a slow turn and goes, "The burns were too severe." And I'm what? I was like, how did you get it past an audition? How did you make an audition and get that fucking line passed? And no one laughed? No one laughed at that line. I was like, wow.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
I couldn't stop laughing at that one part because he had the nice slow turn. And I was like, wow, this is ridiculous.
And then Reed walks off. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I guess the Reeds were he's dead. Okay, Victor's dead. No problem.
Victor, who I forgot now. Take him to Latveria, wherever. Well, actually, they never say Latveria, do they?
Hold on. Well, they don't have Latveria, but so the scene that Tim's just referencing right there, when Reed finds out that Victor is allegedly dead, and his henchmen meanwhile are there and take him off. So let's talk about the fact that we never get it. It's a 10-year time jump, and then he's Dr. Doom. At what point in time did he become the king of the head of Latveria? Why does he have henchmen at all? They never explain any of this at any point during the film. Where the hell did this all come from? These just random henchmen decided to follow some random guy who allegedly died or got burnt really bad, and they made him the leader of a country? What the fuck happened?
I made big leaps to fill the gaps in myself, and what I guess is Doom was the heir, and he was sent here in America to study. Look, this is nowhere in the movie.
No, go ahead.
Sent here to America to study, and he has that accident, and the goons are sent to bring him home and get him better. That's kind of what I assume, but again, there's none of that in the movie. Literally, they take his body, they say he's dead. The next time you see this guy, he is in full Doom regalia.
By the way, Jonathan's got a good explanation. He was the undercover boss the whole
Undercover
time.
boss. Oh my God, I want to see
like that.
Doom as the undercover boss so badly right now.
Maybe he was in Reed's school. He was pretending to be a student. I don't know. Maybe he owns the school. I don't know, man.
And also, why do his soldiers wear lime green spandex? Like, why are they running around in lime green spandex? Like, where did that idea come from?
But I'll tell you this: I thought they kind of looked like Doombots. So
yes.
Whereas they don't explain why they're doing it in the movie. I get why they chose the aesthetic, because these people did read the comic book. Like, that's something when you watch the movie Doomed, you'll realize they were really trying to be as slavish to the source material as they could be. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went, oh, those Doombot things. Well, we don't have time to explain it, but let's just make them look like it.
I don't have time to explain a lot of things, by the way, in this film. I mean, there's a lot that gets glossed over pretty quickly. There's a scene, by the way, we get where Johnny Storm sneezes fire. when they're first found to be alive, and he sneezes fire, which, by the way, this film has a lot of issues showing what fire is. Because it's an entire cartoon. Every single time there's fire on any point, especially that scene where Doom is laughing and he's on his throne and you see like fire on the side. What the fuck was that about?
Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't afford real fire for that?
No fire.
Is real fire that expensive to put in two big orbs? I was like, wow, why they have fake fire for this?
It was so weird. So weird.
The fake fire is ridiculous, but I do want to call out that I have a note that I think that shot looked like a comic book panel.
Yes.
Like him on the throne. And that's why I like this movie, and that's why I'm kind of like I'm in this movie's corner, because I could see where they were going.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
I think they really were trying for something here, and if they were given enough, enough room or enough resources, if this was ever intended to be a good movie, there could have been something here.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. And then we find out in not to get into Doom just yet, into the documentary side of it, but this was a $1 million budget.
Right.
Literally $1 million to make this entire film. That is bananas.
And I want to point something out, that I think this movie is just as good as the Captain America movie from 1990. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's any worse. And that had a $3 million budget.
Yeah.
I think this movie is just as good as the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie. I don't think it's any worse. And that had a $9 million budget. Yep. So it says a lot about what they did with that $1 million, that they were, in my opinion, competing with the Marvel properties at the time for quality of movie. Now, that's a low bar. I'm going to admit that.
Sure.
But, again, what they did with $1 million, they did a lot with it.
It's pretty impressive. What about the spinning newspapers that decide to be like out of nowhere? Newspapers start spinning and they just give you a headline to give you an explanation of what the fuck is going on. And there's no consistency either. It just pops up a couple of times.
It's the big special effect.
That's what they spent the money on. That's where I'll fault them. You didn't need to do spinning newspaper.
Yep,
you could have saved that for fire. You could have took that budget and put it for fire.
So forget about Johnny Storm being a cartoon character. We're gonna use a spinning newspaper for our big effect. Why not?
And by the way, there's a scene where Alicia Masters is in this film.
Oh, and she gets who gave that girl a job?
I don't know, man.
She was awful. She was awful in a sea of awful.
But she gets that delivery guy, that weird delivery guy that delivers her like the it's like the heads or something like that, because she's gonna do like a memorial, I guess, for the Fantastic Four, because everyone believes they're dead at that point. Like, and there's just a weird interaction with the delivery guy, and that whole scene that really I thought it was very bizarre. Like, he thought something else was happening, and it wasn't happening. I don't know.
I understand it was a side story, and you don't have to get into it.
Yeah,
she fell in love with Ben Grimm because he knocked her on the floor.
Yes.
Next time she sees Ben Grimm, he's the Thing, and she tells him he loves him. What the hell is that all about?
Love at first sight, Tim.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
Well, I mean, look.
Pardon the pun. Love at first sight, Tim.
Yeah,
love at first touch.
Nicely done. But we also get the same thing with the jeweler, right? Which is supposed to be Mole Man.
Which we found out more in Doomed why he wasn't the Mole Man. But he's our Mole Man.
It is our mole man. That was a big problem for me, was that I actually texted Ed, I think, or I meant to, like, hey, why the fuck isn't this jeweler guy the mole man? This would be perfect. And you realize they didn't have the rights for it. It was actually written as the mole man.
Yeah.
Why I give the movie some more points. But it's the same thing with not mole man. He's like, oh, that blind woman is hot. I must have her. Queen, 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 which is a line from the movie.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But so I guess when you have a crisp hour and 20 minutes, you gotta just keep things flowing.
Dude, there's also
basically it's just Batman Returns with the freaks living in the sewer.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
That's true.
It's Batman Return, following a penguin-looking leader in the sewers, a bunch of freaks. That's really all it was.
By the way, why did the jeweler's henchmen have the need to spray Alicia Masters to knock her out? You're trying to tell me these 12 dudes couldn't take out the blind woman?
Right.
Really? They had to spray her with some weird thing to knock her out? I don't know. Really got to get better henchmen. Got to get better henchmen there, jeweler.
Yeah.
I mean, mole man, whatever we're going to call you.
Yeah.
And there's also, by the way, why is there a fight scene when they're trying to escape? Right? Because we find out eventually, with no explanation, by the way, that apparently the Fantastic Four have been recovered by more of Doom's henchmen with a fake doctor and all this other stuff. So that's where they are. When they're trying to escape, they're about to fight and take their disguises, but then they just do the spinning effect, and then suddenly Johnny, Sue, and Reed are wearing their costumes, but Ben has to hang out with them behind. Wouldn't you want to take Ben?
Yeah, you would.
You're probably going to run into some people. You might need Ben's. I get he doesn't blend in as well, but Ben probably could have been pretty helpful in trying to escape from there.
And
I like how Sue Storm, she turns invisible, even though there's two guns on each side of her. All she does is turn invisible, and they miss. They miss.
Because she wasn't there anymore.
I was like, what? I was like, she didn't teleport. She just went invisible. I don't know what the hell. And she did that twice. They did that twice in the movie.
I have a note that says the writer thinks invisibility means you disappear, like literally aren't there anymore.
Horrible.
Can I share before we move on? My favorite moment of the whole movie is when Doom has them at the lair in that scene, and they're fighting his henchmen, and he inexplicably goes, "I'll be right back," and he leaves. And then the Fantastic Four wreck house on these fake Doom bots, and he comes back in, and he literally, "So, my friends."
Yes.
Why?
He didn't hear any of that shit? Are you serious?
He's just like, what was he doing? I'm going to go make Jiffy Pop for the moment. I'll be back. You take care of things, guys. What was he doing that was more important than beating the Fantastic Four?
I think I would rather see Doom leave that room and make Jiffy Pop than see Venom make breakfast. Like
I would kill just to watch, like, ooh, it's popping. Yes, it's popping. Popping.
Oh, boy. That was my next note, that Doom didn't hear the whole fight that was going on.
That's literally my favorite part of the movie.
How did they get home? I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
I like Thing's music video when he runs off all sad. His 19 not even 90s, his 1980s Angel in the City background music video of him walking through the streets all sad. I was like, why is this happening? And then he's sitting there in an alley with a blanket over his head. I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this happening?
So, Tim, you want to hear something funny, though, that me and Jason learned from watching Doomed? Tim, you really got to watch this documentary. I think
I'll watch it tomorrow.
You're going to eat it up. You're going to love it now. That was shot guerrilla style with no budget. They literally grabbed, I think it was like was it the secretary or something like that who put on the costume, the Ben Grimm, the Thing costume, and ran in the streets. They didn't get permits to film or nothing. They literally just did guerrilla style and filmed him in the streets because they had to have that scene.
Wow.
Yes. Wild shit, dude. Wild shit.
I'm going to say my biggest critique of that scene is that he didn't have a trench coat like a Ninja Turtle when he was walking around, because his face, the animatronics looked like the Ninja Turtles from that 90s movie.
Which came out before this. And
again, this was $1 million budget, and they had the Ninja Turtle movement. I'm giving it credit.
Yeah.
But Ben Grimm needed to have a trench coat and a hat, and
that's his thing, though. But that would have been comics accurate, though. That would have been comics accurate. So I
I
can
guess
roll with that.
they didn't have a trench coat and hat on hand when they decided last minute to shoot this scene.
Holy shit, that was weird. And how the hell did the Fantastic Four get from Latveria to home? Because the next scene, they're in the Baxter building. How did that happen? Did they catch like a random flight? What happened there?
Yeah, they caught the Latveria red eye.
That's
Express,
it. Yeah.
Straight to New York.
So how about the scene when Reed is explaining where he figured out why they have their powers that they have? And he's breaking it down like, hey, Sue, you're like, you tend to disappear and I stretch myself too thin. Johnny's got a hot temper. Ben, so when, and this is a quote from Johnny Storm, holy Freud, Batman, I think you're right. What the fuck?
Yes, that's right.
It's so bad.
Jonathan's right here, by the way. They should have had a spinning newspaper to explain how the hell they got back to the States.
That's true.
Heroes take the red eye.
Yeah, that would have been it. That's all you need.
Oh man,
it was so bad.
So how about when Alicia says "I love you"? By the way, the scene that Tim talked about before, and Ben turns back to like form, to like human form out of nowhere, and then leaves where they are, and then turns back to the Rock with no explanation of why that just happened.
Yeah, they were having him go back and forth. It made no sense. Like whenever it was convenient, like because he turns back, like Doom's about to do something, right to him, and he turns back and he's like, "Oh, you can't do nothing. You can do now, lover boy," or he says something like that. It's like, why is Ben Grimm going back and forth? Like, if he had the power to go back and forth, he wouldn't be miserable as a character.
No, he would have just turned. If someone said "I love you," he turns back. That's it. That's all it took.
It's like kissing a frog, like turns into a prince.
Exactly. Not even. All you gotta do is just say it, and that's all. So what? So the last battle, the whole big showdown at the end with the Fantastic Four fight Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is about to fight Reed Richards, and all he has is he decides to fight him with some spiky little claws out of his hand. He's fucking Doctor Doom. What the hell? Claws.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What the hell is that? Oh,
that, and by the way, if you had to give the award for worst actor, who would it be? I would give it to Doctor Doom, actually. But I would give it actually when he was Victor. He was absolutely god awful. I don't think he was that great, that bad as Doom, but he was, as Victor, he was terrible.
He's terrible as Victor, but I have to say I love him as Doom because he is so over the top. When he's like, "You may call me Dr. Doom." It's like it's so over the top. Like, so like, is he a good actor? No. But was it fun to watch him in the Doom costume? Yes. So that's why I wouldn't give it to him. I'd probably give it to Johnny Storm. I think the guy who played Johnny Storm was kind of boring.
Which is crazy though, because he's a real actor that we've seen in legitimate Hollywood films.
I know. That's the irony.
He overacted this entire film, which I think that's kind of what they were going for, though. I don't know. His main
except
Doom,
for Reed. Reed
was fine. Yeah, he was
underacted.
Yes,
he was like boring. He's like, everyone else is overacting. He's like, yeah, okay. Like, what the hell?
So of course Doom has to fall off a cliff because it's an early '90s film, and everyone had to fall off a cliff. Like
everyone. I'm sorry. No, but I was thinking the same thing. It's like the Joker dies that way. Big Boy in Dick Tracy dies that way. It's like if you have a comic book movie, Hans Gruber
also out the window.
It's like if you're making an action movie in the 80s or early 90s, you got to throw them out the window or over a cliff or something.
Oh, this is actually pretty funny. So when Johnny was doing his tumble with the laser, it reminded me of Old Man Superman cards. So.
Yes.
And by the way, Johnny Storm doing Flame On and flying out, turning into cartoon. He was literally transformed into a cartoon to take the shot for the city and make sure that New York doesn't get destroyed. Again, what the hell, man? What is going on here?
All he had to do was stick his hand and stop the beam. He didn't have to go all the way to the end and take the shot. Just stop the beam. Done. It's over. Movie's done. But no, they had to have that money shot of cartoon. He looked like Video Man from the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon.
That is awesome, Tim. Absolutely, he looked like Video Man.
That's what I thought of right away. I'm like, why is Video Man in this movie all of a sudden?
So do you think Johnny Storm or the last scene of the film when we get the wedding of Sue and
God.
Reed and the driving away of the arm out there and flopping around.
You guys know
Wow.
I posted that all over the place today.
No, you did. You were all about it.
I think that's my favorite. I think that's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Is that stupid arm out the window?
It looked like one of those, like, wacky inflatable, like, crazy arms thing. It looked like it was one of those with just the arm going up.
It was bonkers, dude. It is such an insane movie. It is wow.
And I want to point out that everyone but Sue Storm at their wedding is dressed in the Fantastic Four uniform, which means Reed Richard went, fuck it in a tux. I'm getting married in my Fantastic Four outfit. Like, I want to see the cut scene where it's the conversation that him and Sue have later. Like, Reed, you couldn't have put a tux on. I have a dress. Like, we have pictures to take. Like, I want to see that scene.
Maybe because Ben was in a Speedo instead of the full pants, he was in a diaper. Like, look, if Ben's in a diaper, I'm wearing my suit. I'm not wearing a tux. That's it. That's probably the argument they had.
That's it.
And also, Sue made the suits for them in this film. And she made, like, Johnny's, like, flame retardant and everything.
She goes, it's flame retardant. Dude, he has the power of the sun. You think a flame retardant suit is going to stop the power of the sun?
Oh, wow. It was really something.
I love this movie.
But the shit we found out, though, when we watched Doomed, right? When we watched the documentary about, which I highly recommend you check this out if you're going to watch this movie, and because I think it goes hand in hand, and it really explains a lot. So we find out that, yes, the movie was made to never be released. It was about retaining rights, and it was this whole, like, shady shit. But they never told anyone, the director, they never told the producers, they never told anyone anything. They just went ahead and went for it. Once it was done, they just put it in post-production, limbo forever. And the cast and the crew itself were the ones who were taking their own time and money to go ahead and to finish the film. They were like, screw this, we made a movie. We need to finish the movie. All these actors thought, and director and everything, all thought that this was going to be their big break. Like, they were really all in on, like, this was going to be it. And it never happened. And they also knew that there was going to be limitations working on a $1 million budget. I don't think any of them were, like, completely nuts for thinking that they were going to do all this incredible special effects. But we also see that there was a 40-person orchestra that did the soundtrack for this film. Mm-hmm. Yes, they had a legitimate orchestra together to do the soundtrack for this, and they did it for, like, no money, because they're like, yo, Fantastic Four, superhero property, we want to be a part of this, and they did it. Wow.
Yeah. I actually, after watching the documentary, I felt bad for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Because, like, and I think the guy who played Victor Von Doom said it. He said, is this the best movie ever made? No. Is this a great movie? No. But it's something that we worked very hard on and would have made money. And I believe him. I think, again, I am standing by that this is no worse than Marvel properties that were actually put money into and released around the time. And so I think, like, would this have skyrocketed people's career? No, I don't think so. But I definitely think it was worth putting out. And the fact that these people put all their time and energy and passion and, and did their own sort of, as you said, they did their own marketing. They were going to cons. They were answering questions. And no one had the courtesy to tell them that this was never going to be a movie. I just think royally screwed up.
Yeah, and then we also find out that, like, there was, I was, 13, 14 years old at the time. I remember hearing that there was a Fantastic Four movie coming out soon or something like that. I mean, I remember, like, Tim, like, it looks like, yeah, you agree. We recall hearing that something was coming.
It was either Starlog or Fangoria, like a magazine I used to read back in the day.
Yeah.
And there was a still picture of the four of them. I'm like, holy shit, it's the Fantastic Four. And not the stupid picture by the door in the orphanage, whatever the hell they were. An actual picture of Ben Grimm as the Thing, and they were in their costumes. And I'm like, holy shit, it's a Fantastic Four movie. This is fantastic. When's this coming out? Oh, it's 3 years old already? Like, where did this movie go? Like, how come I haven't seen this movie yet? So yeah, it was like it was myth for a while.
Yeah, and Jonathan's saying too, I'd love to see what this movie could have been.
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
the three of us would agree. Like, if you were to give this movie the proper budget, which means that the writing you would assume would have improved, maybe the acting improves, then maybe you actually get some actors you have to pay, like significant cash to. It would have been interesting to see where they went with it, because we do get the feeling by watching this that they were fans of the film and fans of the source material, and they were really going for it. And that's something that you find out in Doomed. Like, they were all in on this. Every single person who was involved in the making of this thing were fans, and they really wanted to see it happen. And it sucks that they got shit on in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to the fact that they wanted to bring in the Mole Man as a secondary villain to Doctor Doom, I think that speaks volumes about the being fans of the source material, because if you're not fans of the source material, you likely don't know who the hell the Mole Man is.
Yeah.
Right? He's not a huge presence. He's not your Doctor Doom. But the fact that they wrote the script and wanted him to be included and literally went through the comics and tried to recreate that Doom throne scene, sort of panels from the comic. And I think given actual money and resources, if this was supposed to be a real movie, it could have been something. It could have been, I don't know how good it could have been, but considering it was made for $1 million and it was just as good as all the other Marvel properties, if you gave it, I don't know, $5 million, it probably would have been better than the stuff that was being churned out, because the stuff that was being churned out was not faithful to the source material at all.
No.
That Punisher movie had nothing. I remember being a kid watching it going, what the hell does this have to do with the Punisher?
Yeah.
And Captain America, I don't remember, but isn't he in Italy or something? I mean, isn't it
yeah. Some weird shit like that.
He was strapped to a rocket, literally strapped to a rocket. It was god awful.
So the fact that we had a crew and a cast and people here who were fans of the source material and wanted to make a faithful adaptation, and this is what we got because it was the budget, I do think if we had a bigger budget, this actually could have been something.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you, dude. I really do. I think the ultimate kick in the balls that we saw, though, on Doomed was that Stan Lee did visit the set of this film. And he did a couple of times, and then all of a sudden he went to it was a Comic-Con or something like that. And he acknowledged that there was a Fantastic Four movie coming out, but also said that he wasn't expecting a lot of it. And he was just promoting and talking about, hey, in a few years, Marvel's going to really roll out the stuff. And he was referring to things like X-Men and Blade and the stuff that we got coming out eventually. Because at the time of this film, though, James Cameron was supposed to be doing a Spider-Man film for Canon Pictures, actually, ironically.
Ooh, so that would have been bad.
No, when you do some research into that, though, Jason, try to do some reading into that, and they got some really wacky ideas for that Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
But the fact that you had Jim Cameron, who already did Aliens and Terminator 2 and things like that at the time, you're like, all right, maybe it could have been cool. And there was always rumors of Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be like Peter Parker. Okay, that would have gotten the proper budget.
Yeah.
But I think they also said was in Doomed, what did they say? There was a Doctor Strange movie that was supposed to be directed by Wes Craven.
Yes, yeah.
That was in the works at that time. I actually would have been down with that.
I would have been too. That would have been cool. Because again, smart going for the horror feel of it. I would have loved to seen a Wes Craven Doctor Strange. Again, I want to be in the Flash so I can go to that parallel dimension where I can see the Wes Craven Doctor Strange.
Yes, that it actually went into production, and Fantastic Four got a proper budget.
Yes, I want to go to that timeline just for a little bit, just to watch a little movies.
Yeah, that's all. Nothing crazy. It's not going to mess with the timeline, really. Yeah, so I thought that was the ultimate kick in the nuts that the crew got, and that was really screwed up. But all right, so I guess Tim, you got anything else on Fantastic Four?
The burns were too severe. That's all I'm going to say. The burns were too severe.
Tim, how many times did we go to Midtown Comics, by the way, and we were like, "Yo, let's split it. Let's buy this movie."
And we couldn't do it. We couldn't pull the trigger.
No.
Meanwhile, the first time I saw the Star Wars Holiday Special, I was like, $30? Done. Done.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's why I love YouTube, because I remember being younger and I wanted to see the holiday special and I wanted to see this. And I was like, no, I'm not going to pay for those. I didn't have the money. I was poor, you know. But now I don't have to pay for anything. I've watched the holiday special and this for free on YouTube. And by the way, I cannot wait until we all do the holiday special together on your show.
Empire 161. Yeah, that's definitely happening.
That's definitely going to happen. Because I'm a fan.
Right,
I'm a fan of
Boba Fett.
I'm a fan for 30 minutes of Wookiee speak in the beginning. I'm a big fan of that.
It's so bizarre. And you like the masturbatory Wookiee grandfather with his VR porn?
Yeah, and Ed Norton as a bartender. I love it. I know the Corus Legion was a bartender. I'm sorry. Ed Norton was a rebel sympathizer on Kashyyyk of all places. I don't know. Whatever. I'll take it.
It's a crazy show. It's a crazy movie.
Dude, that's definitely somebody was high when they wrote that special. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
but you know what? I agree with you with one thing though. It really, watching it the second time, I agree. This really wasn't as bad. Like Fan Four Stick is goddamn awful, and that's compared to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, if you can't make a better movie than Fantastic Four '94 with the actors that they had, with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan, poof, you're done, dude. Just quit the movie business because you guys are terrible.
Fan Four Stick was just a slog to watch. Like it was just not entertaining. It wasn't fun. There was nothing there. It was visually dark. It was a dark take on these characters, which you don't need a dark take on the Fantastic Four. It was like they completely messed the Doom character up. Like
Doom Chef.
Yeah, exactly. That movie was just. I mean, we'll get to it, I guess, at some point. But that movie was god awful. And again, it had a budget, and it was released, and this was not. And I'm going to say this is 20 times the movie Fan Four Stick is.
So how about this? Because I had to look it up while we were talking about this. The budget for Fan Four Stick, estimated $120 million. I would love to take that $120 million and give it to this crew who did this Fantastic Four movie and see what they could have done with it.
Right?
They would have had real casts, real effects. Yep. It would have been good.
And get them the right of the
summer blockbuster.
Especially in '92. You give them that
Absolutely.
much money. Forget it.
Oh, yeah. Forget it.
Yeah. Wow. That's what I would like to see. But yeah, we'll get to Fan Four Stick one day. I'm sure we'll probably, we'll jump into the other three Fantastic Four movies, because we're talking about this one. The other three.
I think one of the funniest parts for me, not funniest, but one of the parts for me that really stuck out in the Doom documentary before we go is the guy who played Dr. Doom, and he's lamenting about, I liked the role and I really enjoyed it and I wanted this to be something. And I would even, if they wanted me to redub it, if they ever wanted to put this out, I would do it. And he goes, but that's not going to happen. He's like, but you know what I do tell myself? I was the first actor to ever play live action Dr. Doom, and no one can take that from me.
100% correct.
And that is exactly 100% correct. I mean, you got to give it to him.
Wow. Jonathan saying this could have launched the MCU. Had it. You want to know something? You're right. It could have been the MCU in the 90s.
Because again, it doesn't, for what it is and for what the budget is and for what it's doing, it doesn't look that bad. Like, yeah, it looks cheap, but it's $1 million budget. You're doing a Fantastic Four movie for $1 million? How much is that Thing costume gonna cost? You know what I mean?
May have been half the budget.
Right, exactly. I mean, you've got special effects, and yes, the special effects are terrible, but for the budget they have, I don't think it's that bad. Again, you got Dolph Lundgren's Punisher for $9 million. What special effects do you need in that? You got one guy and no superpowers.
Yep. Spent it on Dolph Lundgren and Louis Gossett Jr.
That's right. Well, Louis Gossett Jr., a national treasure. And you guys know I love Dolph Lundgren, so.
Yeah, I think we all have a place for them.
Isn't half the movie Dolph Lundgren sitting in the basement just staring at a wall?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't that like half the, as far as I remember, that's the only part of the movie I remember. Was him sitting cross-legged, like with no shirt on, staring at a wall in his little lair. I'm like, what is this movie? Where is the Punisher?
Will you punish someone already?
I know, punish. I'm the only one getting punished here by watching this crap.
That's it. We were the victims. We were being punished.
Exactly. That was their intent all along.
That's right.
By the way, it really sucks, by the way, might as well, since we're talking about Fantastic Four stuff, is that interview that Emily Blunt gave, talking about that Sue Storm was really fan casting. She hasn't been contacted and everything like that because we've all been. No, Tim, I'm with you 100%. I'm not 100% buying it. I'm just stating the fact that it was floated out there because I think everyone wants it to happen so badly. I'm just really hoping we still get that Krasinski Blunt as Reed and Sue Storm in the MCU's Fantastic Four.
Don't forget, Ewan McGregor said for 5 years he's not playing Obi-Wan Kenobi again. Remember that.
True.
Just remember that.
We have to always remember what Sean Connery taught us. Never say never again.
Correct.
Exactly, Mr. Bond.
I've been going through a Bond rewatch recently. We're doing the Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton ones.
I saw that.
There's some crazy stuff in those, especially those Brosnan ones, man. GoldenEye is a wild movie.
I like it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I also think Timothy Dalton's highly underrated as Bond.
I agree too. I think Timothy Dalton's a great Bond. I think the Living Daylights is a really solid Bond movie.
I love the cello down the snow thing in the beginning of the movie.
The fact that he's just going with the cello. Oh God, wonderful! Oh, wonderful Bond moment.
All right, so I guess that wraps up this episode of Granny's Peach Tea. Thanks for joining us, Tim. Thanks for jumping on for Fantastic Four. We always talked about watching this movie together and buying it for years, so it had to happen. And when Jason and I we were all talking about this show, this is one of the movies that was brought up. Like, we're going to start going down that alley at some point, so I'm super excited we got to do it. We're going to continue the trend, though, because next week's movie is going to be Captain America 1990. Ooh. That's the movie we're going to do. So, Tim, if you want to check it out this week, you're welcome to come join us. And then after that, and then the two movies after that will be Dolph Lundgren Punisher. We're going to do that. And the week after that is going to be David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Let me tell you, I'll tell you already right now, The Punisher is going to be the worst movie out of all those.
Really?
Yes. I've watched Nick Fury, and I remember Captain America used to come on HBO every now and then at like 2 in the morning, and I watched it. Mm-hmm. Punisher pisses me off more than anything because it's just so bad. I'm not saying it's a worse movie, but it pisses me off so much because I was a big Punisher fan, and I'm like, what am I watching? Why am I watching? At least Captain America was goofy. Red Skull was goofy. It was slightly enjoyable in a bad way. Punisher is just goddamn awful.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen either one of those in a really long time, so I'm actually really curious to see these next 3 movies. Since I haven't seen them since I was a kid, so I didn't go back to watch them. But I do remember getting really upset renting the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, and I got home and watched it. And I remember being really, really pissed off. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I hated Dolph Lundgren's Punisher, but I've never seen Nick Fury, the Hasselhoff version. So I always assumed that would be the worst of them. So if it's the Punisher,
no. I'm not saying it's Punisher's the worst. I'm saying it's my personal worst because I was so angry at it. Nick Fury, don't forget, was made for TV, so you know it ain't going to be better. It ain't going to be better because it's a made for TV movie with Lisa Rinna as what's her name? It's God, you want to kill yourself when you watch this one too, but
damn it. Shit, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that she plays. She plays what's her face? That Kobe Smulders plays in the MCU. Maria Hill.
Yes. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna get some really wacky. We're gonna get pretty wacky these next couple of weeks since we have no Marvel content to cover for a little bit. We do have MODOK actually in a couple of weeks.
Okay, that looks
we won't get that. Yeah, so but that'll be in the wacky theme of what we're doing because Loki. We still have Loki for 4 more weeks, so we'll have these movies leading up to Loki. So.
Because these are the alternate universes. This is the MCU gone wrong, right? This is if you take the time stone and you messed around the MCU, these movies are what you get. And that's how it thematically fits. And no, I did not just pull that out of my behind right now. I was thinking that the whole time. That's the plan, guys.
That's the plan.
How great would it be if this Loki show reference like the David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury, or the Dolph Lundgren Punisher?
Absolutely fantastic.
Fucking great that would be. How great would that be?
Phenomenal.
Look, anything's possible with multiverse. Anything is possible.
You're 100% right. we might see it, and I think it would be great because that means he read our minds, and we had it all tied in this entire time. That was the plan all along.
That's right.
I hope the next Spider-Man has Dr. Doom on a roof in Manhattan for no reason from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, because that's one of the greatest things ever. Spider-Man just swinging by and his Dr. Doom going, "I am Doom." Well, okay, what are you doing on the roof, Doom?
No, I don't know. Forget.
Spidey
and Iceman were having a race through the city.
That's right.
That's why they have something.
That's what I want. I want to see Spider-Man and Amazing Friends live action. Nothing would make me happier.
That would be awesome.
Maybe one day. But all right, so let's wrap this thing up then. Thanks for joining us wherever it is. Check out popculturepros.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can see all the wonderful shows that we have, or if you're on Facebook, you can go ahead and join our Facebook group for Granny's Peach Tea, because we have our own. If you like the Yankees and you like Star Wars, you check out me and Tim. Actually, we have a show called Empire 161. You want to follow that thing. On Mondays, there's A to Z with Eric. Eric literally covers everything A to Z with his producer Dave. They have everything there. Tim is also on a show with Eric, a wrestling show called the Just Too Sweet Show. So you'll see a whole lot of Tim here on Pop Culture Pros. If you're into the Mets, you can check out the Put It in the Book show. Those guys do a great job there on Wednesdays. But they don't.
That's just the Mets. That's just nothing to do with the guys.
Jader and Kyle, they do a fantastic show. Jader joins us from time to time here on Granny's Peach Tea. They checked out a bunch of movies. They take a look at some old films. I know they did some reviews before we went on tonight, so you can check them out. And on Four Quarters show, they once again producer Dave with what's Dave's co-host on?
Align.
Yeah, they cover basketball, they cover NFL, they cover baseball. I don't even know if they throw in hockey talk or not. I don't know if they go that far. Tim and I would talk about hockey, it's fine, but whatever you're into, Pop Culture Pros has it at some point. Even though in the football season, Tim is on a giant show with a lot of the guys from the Put It in the Book show. So for Tim, for Jason, we'll hopefully have Tony back next week, and you can go ahead and watch Captain America 1990 on YouTube for free, and then come check us out next week, because we're going to be talking about it. I hope you guys had fun, just as much fun as we did, and we'll see you next week, all right? Take it easy. Peace.
The burns were too severe.